just that simple text goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, we're very tough on ourselves, right? There's dad guilt, there's mom guilt. Oh, how do you show up to be a great dad? It's, I got to show up for myself. Men don't talk, right? It's not our fault why that doesn't happen. I think it's just a generational thing. Well, and parenthood is 100% accountability. It is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I think my parents got divorced when I was in my early teens. It felt like there was a gap that I had to fill. And to be curious and really dive into things. How do we create awareness and create access to mental health resources? How can we provide dads with better tools to be a better support?
Welcome back, Wellness Ninjas, to another episode of the Wellness Dojo Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Craik, and today I'm really excited to have my man, Curtis Alexander, here. He is one of the founders of Day1Dads, which is a very, very important organization and initiative. Curtis, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and it's finally happened.
Yes, I know. It's like a little background. We recorded an episode what was that? It had to have been
at least a
year ago.
Yep.
And I was just having major audio issues and stuff that day, and so we ended up scrapping it, and it's taken this long for us to get back together. But
yeah, it got busy, but I'm happy because we can talk about some great things we've been doing over the last year.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm really excited to dive into things with you and just to share a little bit about what you guys are doing, because I look at you and Steve, who's the other co-founder, and I'm just constantly inspired by you guys and everything that you guys are doing, and just what you guys have been able to build is really, really cool to watch. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So why don't we start off with for the audience who doesn't know what Day1Dads is, can you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, so Day1Dads Impact Foundation is an organization. We're a nonprofit that we focus on men's mental health, specifically for dads. We feel like there was a gap in access to mental health resources as a dad, and there's so many things out there, and we just consolidate it into one simple card called the Hey Dad Care Card. And it's this lovely card here. On the back of it has a QR code, and it gives you access to BetterHelp, which we've had a great partnership with them. It's 30 days of free therapy for dad, mom, and the household. There's also other organizations in there just to bring to light, like parental infant loss, great Canadian mental health resources, federal, municipal, provincial, as well as just anything that a dad may need or a tool to make themselves better every day.
Yeah, it's so cool. Can you talk about how did it, you guys have an interesting story about how it started as well, right?
Yeah.
How did it actually, what was the initial idea? How did it get sparked?
Yeah, so Steve and I have been friends for over 25 years, and it was really the pandemic that sparked a lot of this. So during the pandemic, I'm in the hospitality industry, and it was challenging, right? Steve's a serial entrepreneur, and he found it challenging as well on many aspects. So our conversations turned from, hey man, I'm at the patio, or let's meet up for wing night, to how you doing? How's family? How's business? And I think we became our check-ins and our clutch. So really, we found the need of hey, there's a massive gap here. And, what helped us, we're like, okay, we need to be able to amplify that and spread the word through that. So came born, Day1Dads Impact Foundation. And that was our goal, is how do we provide this information and access to dads? The Hey Dad Care Card is free. We work with different organizations to distribute this card, from retailers to events. We want to provide that access into hands of dads and moms whenever they need it. So From there, it flourished to, okay, now we have our merch, our brand, and it's only to create conversation. Hey, Dad, how you doing? Or if I'm shopping, they're like, hey, Dad. I'm like, oh, and then it really breaks the ice to create this conversation of who we are and just talk about mental health. And I think there's that stigma that it's forepaw, that you don't talk about it, that we just need to put our heads down, work. Nope, Dad's okay. But the reality is that sometimes we are and sometimes we're not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's super cool. And it is, like, you talk about the swag, and it's something where, like, I'll wear the hats, I wear the sweaters as well. And it's because I'm proud to represent something for a good cause, right? And it is that piece where sometimes people ask me about it, but sometimes it's like a conversation started for me even. From like, yeah, like I'm like representing this cool organization. Have you guys heard about it? And it's just, I agree. It's something that's just so important for people to hear about. When you and Steve were at that point during the pandemic where you guys were like checking in on each other, did you guys recognize other people in your life that were struggling too? Or you were just
Definitely.
like, man, like people need more of this that we
Yes. Yeah, then that's exactly it. And, for Steve and I checking in on a regular basis, we were forced to do that in our own personal network as well of friends of like, hey, just a quick check-in. How you doing? There's so many times where just that simple text goes a long way of just like, hey, man, thanks for checking in.
Yeah.
I'm not having a good day. Or, there's chances that I'm going to be laid off again, right? Because post-pandemic was also a struggle. And, believe it or not, we're only 4 years out of it, and it's still a struggle right now, right? So, but yeah, I think we were able to kind of reach out to our personal networks and create that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is so important because there is, like you said before, still a bit of a stigma around it. Like, I've got a buddy of mine he's like one of my best buds, and like even sometimes, like even though I know I can go and tell him anything and he'll support me and I can tell him my darkest things, like there's still sometimes that resistance of like, I don't want to be like pulling down their day or like all those types of, there's so many different stigmas around it, right?
For sure. And I think, every day we have, I call it energy bucks. I have 100 energy bucks every day.
I love that.
And I've already allocated where those bucks are being spent. And sometimes it's that one phone call. It could be 5 minutes. It could be a 30-minute phone call, but it can drain that bank account that you've already allocated.
Yeah.
So you're right. Sometimes that feeling is tough, but I think there's some gratification and just being available for your friends.
Yeah.
Being available for your family.
Yeah. I think it's like Simon Sinek that said something along the lines of like, you only need 8 minutes. If you can have somebody where you just say like, I just need 8 minutes, that 8 minutes creates a massive impact, right?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Which is what the Hey Dad card kind of provides people with too. It's just that initial opportunity to have a resource, which is really cool.
Exactly. And I think, it's something that we want to come from the heart. It's a recommendation of, I see you're not doing well, but I'm not a professional, but here is access and resources to professional mental health professionals who can help you. And I think that goes a long way to, be like, okay, you know what? Okay, let me scan this card. Let me see what it's about. Let's see what's information that's on there. And once again, that goes a long way. It's how do we break the barriers of why someone doesn't seek mental health support?
Yeah.
Is it because, well, hey, what I'm going through it's not important.
Yeah.
It's not important to me, but it's important to other people. Yeah. Is it because, well, how do I schedule something? I'm too busy. But there's different ways. And the beauty about BetterHelp is that you can text, you can email, unlimited during the 30 days. You get 4 Zoom calls as well, but there's different access points. You can do it in the privacy of your home. Yeah. And we're going to continue to break these barriers. But it's really the community that's like, hey, there's a demand and there's a need for this. Mm-hmm. And we'll say, okay, great. How do we get this on the card and provide that access? So it's not just a one-time use. It's an engaging card where resources are continuously being added on there and adjusted for the needs.
So cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, but believe we had a conversation like a long time ago, and you were saying that when you guys originally started, the idea for it, the concept was to like provide these resources to brand new dads who were like had just had their first child or had just had a child. Is that true? First of all,
yeah. So the idea was, okay, how do we provide access? The thing is about being a parent is you're only a parent for as long as your child's been alive. So I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And for me to say, hey, I've been a dad for 10 years, I am not an expert by any means. So every day I'm learning, and every stage of their lives I'm always learning. So to that comment, it's like, yeah, how do we provide new dads with access and information? But also, too, how do we get the experienced dads? Because there's dads who have kids who are in their 40s. But dealing with every stage of their lives presents different challenges. Right? Like, I don't know how to raise a teenager. I will know in a couple of years. I don't know how to raise a child who's in their 30s, who's, going to buy a house for the first time, who's going to be getting married. I have no experience on that but my own.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing to bring to light as well, because I think sometimes we think other people have it figured out, right? Especially somebody might look at like, oh, Curtis and Steve, the Day1Dads, they must be like expert dads. It's like, no, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go, but having those supports is super important.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So tell me about like you becoming a dad for the first time. Can we talk about that a little bit? What was that experience like for you?
It was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. I think it was, the first moment when we're in an ultrasound and it's like, you're having a boy. And I was like, okay, I had this flashback of, okay, well, what kind of dad do I want to be? I had this blank canvas and I could be anybody I want to be. And for me, that was huge, because there's a lot of self-reflection on, okay, what kind of dad do I want to be? And I can only go on based on my experience. And I want to make some change. And I didn't want to be, I want to be a dad who's more engaging, that's more involved. That's not to say that my dad wasn't, but I really want to be involved in my bringing up my kids. So that was one piece of like, okay, well, how can I be engaged? And for me, that's where that energy bucks comes in. Me being in hospitality again, it could be some long days, but if I'm going to put that same amount of energy in my work, I got to put that same energy when it comes to the family. So my weekends are stacked, right? And I enjoy it, right? Like yesterday, we went for a bike ride. We did this. We went to the ninja park. Like we did so many things, but that is fulfilling for me. I really enjoy getting out for golf, and golf has been a huge mental release for me, especially during the pandemic. But I really want to involve my kids, because I want to build something that in 10 years, 20 years, I can get an undivided 4.5 hours, maybe sometimes 6, 7, 8, with my kids and be like, hey, how's school? Tell me about relationship.
Yeah.
And there's no distractions at all.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's every day I'm checking in with myself. When I'm wearing my swag and I'm out hanging out with my kids, I'm thinking again, be like, hey, am I being present? Am I being the version that I want to be? And am I being that future self? Because I have this little avatar, and that's future me of, hey, that's the dad I want to be. And then I'm making sure I'm present. I'm like, okay, I'm acting like my future avatar every time.
That's cool, because until you said that, I never actually thought about it, but when I wear the hat and so I'm walking around and stuff like that, it is like almost like an accountability reminder for me to be like, yeah, I'm representing this for a reason, because like there's a certain type of dad that I want to be.
Yeah.
As you're talking about that also, I'm thinking, do you feel that there's like a pressure to like maintain a certain like status of fatherhood, or like a certain amount of time that we have to spend with our kids, or a certain amount of, or the type of dad that we have to be? Do you feel that pressure?
Always.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, we're very tough on ourselves, right? There's dad guilt, there's mom guilt. If I want to actually go and play, a good round of golf, or go meet up with a friend for brunch, sometimes because the window is so short on when I have time with the family, yeah, I guilt trip myself all the time, but then you can't remember about yourself. And I think a part of that is, oh, how do you show up to be a great dad? It's, I got to show up for myself.
Yeah.
Right. I got to make sure I'm doing this mental check. I got to make sure I'm taking the time for myself and applying a little bit of fitness, eating healthy, and all these little things is everything that I do now and do today. It's for my future self. It's for that future avatar, so I can live longer, so I can be a little more active. You know, I can play with my grandkids. You know, if I have grandkids, I don't know,
Yeah.
but yes, there's definitely a lot of pressure for that, and I think what really helps with that too, it's, you know, a lot of my friends, we're on the same stage. We have kids that are all different ages, but coming together and having a barbecue, or, you know, doing things as a family, less guilt.
Yeah.
I recently read Atomic Habits, so yeah, I know a habit stack, right? It's if I want to go do something and hang out with my friends, okay, let's hang out with my friends and bring the family, or, you know, plan things together so you can get that face to face, that 8-minute check-in,
Yeah.
as well.
Which is such a big part of the support, right? And like building that support around you with like other dads or other families and that type of thing, just like-minded people. No matter, maybe there's people who aren't dads, but they still need that support around them of like-minded people. It does make it easier to kind of take some of that pressure off of you, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit less guilt.
A little bit.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, it's an ongoing struggle. Yeah. But you're obviously spending a lot of time around dads. You guys are having a lot of conversations. I'm curious, like, what are some of the biggest struggles that people are bringing forward, or that you guys are maybe hearing people are communicating towards you?
Yeah. I think one is the sense of community. There are a lot of resources out there, tons. Where to go, becomes challenging, becomes colluded and overwhelming. So I think it's it's a sense of community. It's a sense of, you know, to be honest, it's a bit of everything, right? Because when you know, as a parent, you're learning every day. You're experiencing different challenges, from, you know, a sick child, you know, and going to hospital continuously, to being a dad of a sole income, you know, towards a family, to a dad paying child support. There's so many different variations that, you know, we want to try to make sure that the information we do have on the card is a little bit universal, in a sense where in a few clicks you can find the info that you need, and it doesn't matter what situation you're dealing with. And if it's not there, again, it's, you know, we are very feedback forward, so it's like, please let us know what is the demand, because the demand is always changing on a day-to-day, and really it's what's happening around the world that changes what the demand is.
Yeah, that's so true, because it's such a dynamic thing, right? Every dad is going to have their unique challenges, their unique successes, strengths, weaknesses, all those types of things. What do you think, because we talked about like just like parents in general, but what do you think is the biggest difference between like the struggles that maybe moms face and the struggles that maybe dads face? I know that's a tough question, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
I think, in my honest opinion, men don't talk. Right? And it's not our fault why that doesn't happen. I think it's just a generational thing, and that comfort and being able to speak up. Moms and women, they have a stronger community. They talk, they're open, and it's a bit of a struggle to get dads to do that. So where the "Hey Dad" came in, it's like, "Hey Dad, how you doing?" All right, it creates that conversation and a bit of that ease. So yeah, really, it's that we just need to talk a little bit more, be a little more vulnerable, right? Being vulnerable with that check-in, and it's not just saying, yeah, I'm good, yeah, I'm doing good today,
I'm fine.
Yeah, right. But sometimes we can get locked in and being so optimistic that we're just like, yeah, no, I'm fine. But it's actually, you know what? No, today was pretty challenging.
Yeah.
Right. But I pulled through.
Yeah.
And I did it. And sometimes it's being honest and almost like a 3-question check-in.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I recently just experienced this where, like, I was like, I felt like I was fine. I was doing good and stuff like that. And I was kind of distracting myself, I think.
Yep.
And then, it's like you're fine until you're not, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're not, and then I had this moment where I was like, no, I've actually been like dealing with some pretty stressful things right now. Like I actually, like, when I started to go back and look at it, I'm like, these are things I maybe like shouldn't have been ignoring so easily,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And that's
Yeah.
where that community comes in that helps you, because instantly they'll see the change in behavior way before we will. And even though we say we're fine, but it's the little things of like, hey man, I don't think things are okay.
Yeah.
And like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? And sometimes we just try to power through.
Yeah. Yeah. Man up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Is that something you were always good at? Like being vulnerable and even like checking in with, because there's vulnerability to both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not. So tell me about that. Like,
My wife, Crystal, thank you. I love you. She holds me accountable.
awesome.
Right. And you need that. You need somebody that's on your case all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But you want to do that going both ways, right? It's a two-way street. But yeah, I was never like that. And had a few moments where I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not okay, or I'm really stressed, or I'm not acting like myself, right? I always try to be this grounded person, but you're not always, right? And as long as you can be, I think what makes you grounded is to be vulnerable, that you're not okay, right? And just being honest with yourself. So yeah, I think it's your community, it's the people around you, your close friends. They're the ones who need to be honest with you. They're the ones who need to speak out and just say, hey, I noticed some things are different, and not be afraid to say that.
Yeah. When did that transition start happening for you, where you started to like open up a little
Kids,
bit more?
having
With
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly think kids is instant feedback, because how you treat your kids, it's not only just a true reflection of you, but it's instant feedback on how they act. Like they have no experience in the mental health capacity of just like, hey, you did me wrong, or you yelled at me. Why am I going to come back and be nice to you? Right. So it's the little things. It's my kids, or it's my instant feedback of how I handle the situation. So therefore I make sure I approach it with some empathy, just a lot of EQ that's in there. So whether it's dealing a situation that they're in, or a situation where they're not listening, which is a common thing. Why don't kids listen? Why don't they listen?
We could do a full episode on that probably. Maybe.
Yeah,
And
but
have no answers.
no answers, but also too how we handle the stress of that. Right,
Yeah.
we're trying to guide them, and for them to make the best decision, but they're on their own island, so they're independent. They want to make these decisions themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to listen to you. But truly, they are listening to us, but they want to explore. They want to make these mistakes themselves. And we see it every day.
Yeah.
You see it as a parent in a grocery store. Don't do that. Don't pick that up.
Yeah.
Get back over here. And you can just see it.
Yeah.
It really flourish. But how we handle those situations and those moments of teaching our kids, it's hard, because I'm by no means a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so true. And like you said something like I think it's so important for us to be the listener with our kids, right? Because the way that they act towards us, the way that you like watch them interact with other kids as well, like that's a direct reflection on what they're seeing from you, what they're learning from you.
Yeah.
And I've had so many times, like more times than I'm proud of, where I catch my kids saying something or doing something, and I'm just like, oh man, like, I can just hear myself through you right now.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And so, but they keep you so honest. And it's, that's one thing that I've noticed about being a dad is like, they teach me so much more about myself than anything else ever has.
100%.
Yeah.
My mom always says manners and behaviors begins at home. And it really, really stuck with me, right? Because all we can do as parents is teach our kids, guide them as best as we can in the home. And we hope that they make the right decisions when it comes to this adverse moment. But when they're in public, we're not with them. So we're hoping that we're in the back of their heads,
Yeah.
or on their shoulder to be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you should go help that person. Or, hey, good job.
Yeah.
Like that's what we hope. So that's all we can do. And it does start at home, and on how we parent them, how we act around them, how we interact with other people when they're there.
Yeah.
That's also important, because they're always watching. So we're on a pedestal. We have to make sure we have to watch what we say, watch what we do, and all we can do is hope that we raise good, kind, amazing humans.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of learning around like early childhood development right now, and like adverse childhood experiences and those types of things. And it's something that I was thinking about leading into this episode with you, is just how important it really is for parents to take care of themselves, because it's really been teaching me like a more scientific version of like what actually happens when kids do experience like neglect, and parents with like depression that aren't dealing with it, and like all those types of things. Like I think it's a difficult thing, because when you're in that, when you're struggling as a parent, it's really hard to pull yourself out of it. But like what you guys are doing, what you guys have created, really give people that opportunity to remove the barriers that are going to not just take care of the parent, but like inadvertently and actually directly take care of the child and how their brain will actually develop, which is it's really eye-opening.
It's a ripple effect. Huge ripple effect. I know, it's like it almost like adds to this pressure too, right? As I'm learning all this stuff, I'm like feeling more and more pressure, but at the same time motivated. Like not necessarily in a negative pressure. Well, and parenthood is 100% accountability, no matter what. So to your point, yes, the pressure is there. If my kid is out in public right now, I'm 100% accountable for how he acts and what he does, because he or she is a reflection of me. So it is a lot of pressure.
I think that's something that I know I've felt it before, but like I see it in a lot of parents too, and I don't judge them for it, because it's a human experience. But I think a lot of parents become very reactive because of how their kids are acting. Because it's like a self-conscious reflection on themselves. So they'll see their kid misbehaving, and then they're so stressed because they know it's a reflection on them, or they, like what I said before, they see themselves in that situation, and they're just like, you have to stop that, and you become very reactive because you're self-conscious about it. That's definitely one of the struggles that I've had to work on.
It's not easy, man.
No,
it's not easy.
It's really not.
But fun at the same time. Sometimes.
So true. So, you've mentioned that kind of your mom and your dad, you had a good relationship with your parents growing up?
My parents my parents got divorced when I was in my early teens.
Okay.
A good relationship with both. And I think as I became a parent myself, there was a lot of, some people call it the aha moment, but it was kind of like, okay, now I understand, right? Like I could put the pressure on, hey, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that, and you can't really fault anybody, right? Because when you get into parenthood, it's about what you've experienced, that you can go off of. Other than that, you just try to be the best version of yourself in the moment. So you have a short window to be the most amazing mom or dad. But other than that, I think no fault to how I was brought up, because if I was to change that, then I wouldn't be who I am today.
And good for you. And I was gonna ask you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I'm curious just what kind of lessons you maybe took from experience, like being a child of divorce and experiencing that, like how has that kind of maybe, do you think, changed how you became as a parent?
I think a lot. And during my kind of self-reflection moment when I had Preston, for me I think I became a little bit more independent. I felt like there was a gap that I had to fill. And not necessarily to play a dad role, but to be curious and really dive into things. And I think when getting into hobbies or when I want to learn something, I didn't have somebody to ask, like, oh, I want to do this. Like, have you ever done it before? It's kind of like, okay, well, I kind of want to learn something, so I'm just going to go and do it. And I became a doer. I became a little bit more independent, which is good and bad, which not to say I was kind of just confined to myself in a way, but I just became this adventurous person, and I didn't feel like I had nobody to guide me through it. My mom was always working, raising two boys, being a single mom. She did the best she could in getting us into sports and out there and housing and all that great stuff. But for me, I really, really had to be like, okay, I just need to do this on my own. Who's going to do it for me? So any adventure or any hobby I really got into, I just went elbow deep into it.
Yeah. Did you have like an active relationship with your dad?
We talk every once in a while.
Yeah.
Right. I think shortly after my parents got divorced, he moved. Okay. I moved to Toronto for a little bit, and then he moved to the States. So we talk every once in a while. And for me, one of the biggest things that I learned was communication, communication with your kids, right? Creating that open door aspect of it. And that was really one of the things that I had to change. I'm like, nope, open door. Yeah. What do you need? Yeah, there's no big or small problem. And more importantly, how I react to these adverse moments. Right, whether it's a school grade or whether it's, hey, I just fell and I broke my elbow. Right, it's how we react is really the relationship that you continue to have with your kids.
Yeah, well, good for you, because I can only imagine how tough that would be, and I think that you have to make that choice, like what you said, like how am I gonna deal with this? How am I gonna take this? And sounds like you took the route of like, this is a lesson that life is teaching me right now, and I get to become the person that I can utilize the strengths that I gained from this experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I can be independent. I can be a doer. I can do things on my own. So cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course, man. Of course. So, what are some of the really exciting things that you guys have coming up with Day1Dads?
So this year's been, our focus is how do we create more awareness and really streamline who we are and what our message is. So, in really, really simple form, two things. How do we create awareness and create access to mental health resources? Those are really the only two things that we're focusing on. And since we've done that, we've had a lot of great things that we've done this year. We've participated in a pop-up downtown Calgary where it is it's called the Hey Dad Hall of Fame. We selected 6 dads. We had like a little Hall of Fame podium. We did a little Q&A with them and really why they enjoy fatherhood, some of their struggles that they've had, and you were one of our nominees.
Yeah, that was so cool. It's such an honor. Yeah.
Thank you. So that really gained a lot of eyes on that. Really a pivot. We are the Day1Dads Impact Foundation, but how the Hey Dad really flourished was, yes, it was more catchy, but it actually created more conversation. So we really leaned on that, and that's just a brand of the nonprofit. And so that was a really, really cool thing. We did a partnership with Surge Basketball. We did the Father's Day game, which was a really, really cool experience, and the ability to handle more and more of these cars and have these opportunities to talk about it. We had Dustin Hogan, who represented us at the game, and we distributed about 3,000 Hey Dad care cards. To date, we've distributed over 25,000 of these cards.
That's crazy, man. Good job.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Thank you. And it's really the different organizations, the different events, retailers. You can go online and you can enter recipients' information. We'll mail out the card within 24 hours. And once again, that's another barrier that we're trying to break down. Is like, okay, well, how do I get access to the card? We get emails every week of, hey, I need access to information. Can you give me some direction? And the comfortability of to be able to reach out, hey, that's the biggest hurdle. That's the biggest mountain that you're gonna get into. So, but yeah, the partnership with Surge Basketball really put us on a different platform with that. We did the parental and infant loss run and walk in Airdrie, which was really an amazing event that they put on. But to be there to represent dads and just talk with moms and dads and parents. And there's a lot of things that, the reason why I have that information on the card is, between my two kids, Elias and Preston, my wife had 2 miscarriages. Well, me being a new dad, I'm like, I didn't know how to support her. One of them, I was on a business trip. And I'm like, hey, I just landed. I just got the message. I'm like, I'll get on the next flight and I'll come back. And, that was the second time. And knowing the first experience and dealing with it, it's nothing easy that the mom goes through. So, how can we provide dads with better tools to be a better support?
Yeah.
But not to stray away from the actual question.
No.
We've done a lot. We've done a lot of cool partnerships, and that's what's really creating the awareness for us and getting that feedback from the community of, hey, this is in demand right now. This is what's needed, which allows us to pivot with that. But what the future stake? More cool, unique partnerships, whether it's not just in Alberta, but in BC and across Canada, and as well as the United States. We have a few organizations out there who are great supporters for us, and they like to see, this access and information. And as we grow, you have the growing pains of like, okay, well, the information we have on this card, is it universal, right? Is it for everybody? And we want to make sure that it is there for the everyday dad when they need it. So more growth, more partnerships, more golf tournaments. That's been a really fun, cool staple for us. And to get, about 200 people in a room to talk vulnerability is really cool, right? And really forces everybody else to really step up.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. You guys are doing some really cool things. And it's really easy for people to access the card, right? Like they can basically just go on the social media and it's like
you can go on the social media. You can go on our website, Day1D.ca. You can order the card. The card is free. You can enter a recipient's name. You can enter your own name. We'll mail it out within 24 hours. If you have an event and you want the cards, we have access to unlimited amount of cards. So we'll get that mailed out. We also have sponsored cards, which is cool. You can put your company logo on the card. The information on the back end is still accessible. It's the same thing as having your logo on a pen, right, or anything like that. So sponsored cards has been a huge success with organizations being involved. We just teamed up with Families Matter, and they're a great organization, and we do a 1-to-1 match. So we have 5,000 cards that's going to be distributed with the Families Matter card on it. They're going to distribute 2,500. We're going to distribute 2,500. So any organization that purchases cards through the sponsorship, we do a 1-for-1 match, and we'll distribute that within our network events that we're a part of. We're going to start doing a little bit more major events, have pop-up tents, and just a little bit more appearances, and just creating more conversations.
Love that, man. And the swag is really cool. So
thank you.
I love you guys' swag. So I was just on the other day. I was like, look, I had a couple things in my cart, and then I got distracted. I'm gonna go back and order it. Like I got a toque lined up for the winter coming up.
Awesome. So, yeah. We have a lot of cool stuff that's coming up, and again, it's just to create the conversation, and when you wear it, you feel proud.
Yeah. I love it. All right, man. We're gonna play a game.
Okay.
So this is a pretty popular thing that we see online now. But I figure Day1Dads, we gotta do some dad jokes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we both brought dad jokes. Neither one of us have told each other what they are, and we're just gonna see who laughs.
Okay.
So if you laugh,
is this a try not to laugh?
It's a try not to laugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start. I'll tell you a joke. If you laugh, I get a point.
All right.
Are you ready for this?
Ooh,
you got yours ready?
I got to pull up my Rolodex here because there's a few good ones.
All right. I'm excited for this one. not confident that I'm not going to laugh. I'm already laughing. All right. Okay, this is my first one.
Okay.
Why didn't the green pepper compete in archery?
Why?
Because it didn't have an arrow.
I can still smile.
You can smile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. My turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jamie walks into the kitchen and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm hungry." Dad responded, "Hey, hungry, I'm Dad."
Oh, man. That's like the simplest. Oh, you already got me. All right. I knew I was going to suck at this. All right. Point one for Curtis. You're going to like this one.
Okay.
This is a true story, actually. So I arrived early to the restaurant, and the manager asked me, "Do you mind waiting a little bit?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." So he handed me a tray. So take this table 9.
Okay. I like that one. Why does Amazon tell me only 2 left in stock? Order soon. You order soon. You are the store.
Okay. How does NASA organize their parties?
Oh,
They plan it.
well done. Well done. What's green and not heavy?
What's green and not heavy? I don't know.
Light green.
Oh, I suck at this. All right. That's good. I'm pretty sure I saw that one just the other day too, and it still got me. Yeah. My girlfriend, she says I'm the cheapest man in the world. I'm not buying it.
You wouldn't buy it. I like that one. My wife likes it when I blow air on.
Why is that funny already?
I don't know. Okay, my wife likes it when I blow air on her when she's hot, but I'm not a fan.
Nice. That was a good one. What do you call a paper airplane that can't fly?
What?
Stationary.
Oh, that was great. That was great. Okay.
You got one more?
I got one more.
All right, I'm not gonna laugh at this one.
Oh. Okay, hold on. Let me find a good one here. What is a web developer's favorite tea? URL gray.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, this is awesome.
That's funny. That's fun. Good job.
Thanks, man.
So one more thing I want to do with you, and then we'll just remind people where they can find all the. Oh, I got tears in my eyes right now. That's good. That's good. But one more thing I want to do is something this brand new. I'm starting it for the first time. So I've got this journal here.
Okay.
So what I want you to do, if you can, is write a question for my next guest to answer. I'm not going to read it or look at it until I have my next guest on.
Okay.
But it's like any question that you want, it doesn't matter, but for the next guest.
Okay.
Are you up for that?
I'm up for it.
All right, I'm going to pass that to you.
Okay.
And then...
what's my question?
I know, pressure's on now. Pressure's on for you. But I just want to say again, like how excited I was to have you on the show as well. Like I said, you and Steve, you guys inspire me. You guys do like such cool work. We were talking beforehand too of just how like I always wish I could do more for you guys, right? And you're very kind. You're like, yeah, you're doing lots just by even just like wearing the apparel and stuff like that. But yeah, any way that I can help support you guys. And I hope and I know that people who are listening to this and watching this will have the same thing. So just make sure you guys do reach out, and there's so many different ways that we can create impact as a collective, right? Yep. And so just kudos to you guys again. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, it's the community, right? You are part of the community, and even just asking the question, hey, how you doing? Checking in with your friends, and I think that's what the message is about. We're in the swag is an addition, but talking about mental health, I think, is really the message and our goal. It's spreading the message and creating awareness. Yeah. That's what the foundation is about.
Yeah. Well, thanks for everything you guys do, and thanks again for coming on the show too. It's super cool to have
Thanks
you
for
here.
having me.
I'm glad we can
glad-
redo this.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
glad too.
Yeah.
I'm glad. This is great.
Yeah.
I think the second time, player 2 is always better than player 1.
Yeah. So maybe we got to do a third one down the line again. Maybe in
Let's
another
keep
year.
that going. Yeah, check in every year.
I gotta get you and Steve on together. That's what we gotta do next.
Yes,
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
We're coming
Shout
for
out-
you.
Shout out for Steve. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and thanks to everybody who's listening and watching. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.